So, if you're thinking about buying a house, you're likely trying to figure out whether or not you need a realtor. And who wouldn't? Let's be honest. Realtors typically are not cheap, and that's because they're bringing a vast amount of information and knowledge to a transaction to try to help guide somebody through a process. But in this case, they're normally very cheap, as in free, $0. As the buyer, typically in Colorado, the seller pays 100% of the commissions associated with the buyer's agent. Now, this isn't always the case, but it's nearly always the case. So why wouldn't you use a realtor? Why wouldn't you have an expert along to help you guide you through the process? Well, here's a few other reasons besides it being completely free to you in most cases. First, a realtor brings to it fiduciary duties. And what that means is we have to put your needs, wants, and desires ahead of our own. We are there to help you get what you want, even if it's not in our best interest. And that's one of the guidelines for being a realtor in Colorado. We have to do that. Next, you have things like ensuring that the contracts are legal. So in Colorado, you do not need to use a big fancy long form unless you're using a realtor. I have bought and sold numerous properties without a realtor with my own forms that were designed by an attorney, and they were very short. But in Colorado, the regulatory body that oversees realtors here has mandated that we have to use a very, very long 18-page or so form, and that's to protect both the buyer and the seller. That means that the form that is used is neutral written. It's not written in favor of the buyer. It's not written in favor of the seller. That's good for both parties. It also makes sure that all the terms and conditions that are typically needed are right there in the form. So we can't say, oops, we missed something in most cases. But we do have a little bit of room at the bottom of the form. We can actually add some different amendments and things like that we might need to do that's specific to the transaction that we are working with. But that is a great thing, I think, for buyers and sellers, because there's no wiggle room right there. We have to use this form. We have to fill out all the check boxes, and it's designed to help everybody stay on the same page, which is awesome when it comes to what is likely going to be the most expensive thing you've purchased in a long time. So the next thing a realtor brings to the table for you is typically not emotions. So the idea of a realtor is to be the non-emotional party, so the buyer and the seller can get frustrated and mad and sad and all these things, and the two agents, real estate agents in the middle, we're supposed to be non-emotional. We need to fight for you and all your needs and wants, but we should do it in a very professional manner. And typically with real estate contracts, or transactions I should say, buyers and sellers typically do get emotional. Who wouldn't? It's a lot of money. There's a lot of stress. You're trying to move out of one house, buy another house, pack all your stuff, unpack your stuff, kids, dogs, schools, all these things come into play. So having a realtor in the middle, we get to hear you, listen to your needs and wants, and then take a big deep breath and then call the other agent and try to work through it in a calm and rational manner, which, trust me, after buying and selling numerous homes by myself, there are definitely times when I wish there was a realtor involved rather than me having to calm myself down before I call the buyer or the seller and make sure that things went smoothly, because typically people yell and scream, bad things happen. It's just been my experience. The next thing is local experts. So we bring to the table things like contacts, lenders, contractors, local resources to research the schools and to research zip codes, crime, things like that. Because and there's another video on this on my YouTube channel, but a realtor cannot tell you what are the good neighborhoods, what are the good schools, where's the crime at, is this a good safe area. Those are things we cannot tell you for numerous liability reasons, but we can give you resources so you can go research that and figure out what meets your needs, wants, and desires, and then you can tell us where you want us to look for homes for you. And that's completely legit. We can do that. If you want to learn more about that, though, definitely check out the video on my website or on my YouTube channel, and there's a whole other video about that subject. So let's see here. So along with that long contract I mentioned, one of the things that realtors bring to the table for you is understanding all the dates, deadlines, and objection times within that state-approved contract. So the contract has a really nice section in there that lists out when everything needs to be done by, every line item. So there's about, I bet you there's probably 20 rows in there that are things that either the buyer or the seller have to get done by a specific deadline, or the contract is null and void. And that's to try to help keep things moving forward, and not waiting to the last day, and then killing the contract at closing. We want things to move forward, and if the buyer decides they want out, how do you get out of a contract you wrote? Is there a way to do that? There is in most cases, as long as it's associated with the property and or terms and conditions around the property. Maybe your lender came back and said, "Yeah, we'll give you a loan for $250,000 at 28% interest." You might not want to take that loan. So if that's the case, there's a way to get out based on those terms. There's lots of other little ways, but it typically has to be about the property, or the lending, your inspection, things like that, versus you just getting cold feet. There's no cold feet clause in the contract. So we have to guide you through that and make sure that before we make the offer, you're not going to get cold feet, because this is the house that you want and everything's in line, and then follow those dates and deadlines to make sure from the buyer's perspective, we're checking off all the things to keep that contract legal and moving forward without any hitches. So the next thing, like I said earlier, we kind of negotiate for you, and we try to keep everything neutral and calm. So contractors, lenders, things like that we bring to the table. And one of the things I bring that's a little bit different than most realtors is before I was a realtor, I was a fix and flipper like you see on TV. So I would buy distressed properties, seriously damaged, needing lots of repair, and then make them beautiful again. So those skills I still have. I am a professional fix and flipper to this day. And when I walk through a house, I see things different than most realtors. Additionally, I know what it costs to make them look pretty. So I can, on the fly, walk through and kind of give you a rough idea if you want to do this or that, what it costs to do that in today's market. And not only that, I know which contractors to go hire to make sure that those numbers come in true. So some realtors will tell you, "Oh yeah, you can remodel the kitchen for $25,000," and then they don't know any contractor that will actually do it for $25,000. Well, in most cases, my guys will remodel a kitchen for a whole lot less than $25,000, and that's new cabinets, countertops, soft closed drawers, way nicer than you see in most new builds, and for a lot less than $25,000. So, that's something that I bring to the table for you. When trying to find a home, a realtor can be very helpful in saying, this neighborhood is an HOA neighborhood and it has covenants and declarations that you need to be aware of, restrictions on how you can use your home and or your yard. Or this neighborhood doesn't have those. So depending on what you want, if you want to be able to park a boat in your backyard or an RV or something, that's likely going to be a non-HOA neighborhood. And if you don't want your neighbor parking an RV or boat in their yard, then it's probably going to be an HOA neighborhood. So which neighborhood is which? Where are they? How do I find them? Some neighborhoods, there's a nice big sign out front that says this is a covenants neighborhood. Other ones, not so much. So how do you know? That's one of the things we try to help you with by using filters in our MLS feed that tell us exactly which neighborhoods are HOA and which ones aren't. They don't get any deeper as far as restrictions go, but once you have a house under contract, the seller is obligated to give you those covenants and allow you time to read them, and you should read them. They're very, very important. I can help point you into which one of the documents. There's 3 that you really need to take a look at as far as restrictions go, and make sure that you, the buyer, are good with all those restrictions, because once you move in, somebody's going to hold you accountable to those restrictions and likely give you fines and fees if you don't want to follow those restrictions anymore. And then you get in a fight with the HOA, and sometimes then you have to move. Good for the realtor if you want to move, but that doesn't bode well if you moved into that and the realtor didn't help guide you and make you understand that before you moved into the neighborhood. Wouldn't you want that? Once you move in, you kind of want to stay there. Let's be honest, moving is not fun once. We want to do it twice, quick back to back, right? So the next thing here on my list, that's it, I think, for the most part. I already covered that one. So, using a realtor is a wise decision for a buyer. Again, it's free to you in most cases, and when it's not, your realtor should advise you of that. And the contract with your realtor will outline what will happen in the event that it's not free. and what those terms would look like, whether or not you pay a fee and how much that fee will be between me and you. But in most cases, the seller pays us as the buyer's agent. So why not use us? Why not take an expert along with you on the ride to make sure that everything goes as smooth as it possibly can? It's not always smooth, even with a realtor. I'll be honest, I've had some rough transactions here and there, but that's how it goes. We do our very, very best to make contracts of buying and selling real estate as boring as possible, because boring is good. This is what I like to tell my clients. When things get really exciting, it's typically not exciting in a good way. So, seriously consider that. Take a look at some of the other videos on my website if you want to learn more. And thanks for watching. This is Chris with HomesIn719.com. My phone number is 719-332-3628. And again, our website is HomesIn719.com. And thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye now.